Good evening, everybody. My name is Case. This is Systemic Caseism. Tonight, we're going to be talking about some of the worst jobs that you've ever had, all right? I want to know from you people in the comments, what is the worst job that you've ever had? It's a toss-up for me, all right? I've got to choose between accidental death and dismemberment telemarketing and construction in Honesdale, Pennsylvania in the winter. It's a tough one. I think I hated the telemarketing more. Now, my job was to sell people. Well, I wasn't selling anything. My job was to offer people a free trial of accidental death and dismemberment insurance. Do you know what a difficult job that is? That is the slowest death that you could ever imagine. You get in there. There's a bunch of weird people around you that actually like telemarketing because, believe me, they exist. You sit down at a desk, and this was back in the days when all the computers still had like DOS type screens, okay? It was all console-based menu-driven terminals. And my script went something like this. Hi, this is Casey from bleep out whatever the company name is because I don't want to get sued because apparently you can do that in America now. And I'm offering you a free trial of death and dismemberment insurance. Now, for a finger, you get $8,000. For a toe, you get $7,000. For an arm, you get $15,000. For a leg, you get $20,000. If you die, we'll cover up to $50,000 worth of your funeral costs. How does that sound? You can cancel at any time. Would you like to try it out for a month? How do you try out accidental death and dismemberment insurance? Like, I was actually thinking this. The thing with most telemarketing jobs is that most of the people there can't think. Like, they're excited to do this job. Those people exist. And they're sitting in a call center right now. Maybe not in America anymore. I don't know if we do anything in America anymore. But when America still had telemarketers, they would sit in a call center and offer people free trials of accidental death and dismemberment insurance. And if you did good at that, and you could scam enough people into signing up for that, because really, let's be honest, folks, the purpose of that job and that phone call was to get their credit card number. It was to scam old people out of money to get them to sign up for some recurring service that they're never going to remember they even have, and they're going to pay like $30 or $15 a month for the rest of their life. They're basically just scamming old people because those were the people that would sign up for free trials of AD&D insurance. Now, if you did well there, you got an upgrade. That's right. You got upgraded to selling cancer insurance because whoop-de-doo, everybody's getting cancer. And I remember during my orientation listening to this crap because I knew it was a telemarketing job when I went and applied, but they never really tell you what it's for. See, I had a telemarketing job when I was a kid, too. I was like 15. And it was a telemarketing job where we gave away one free, I think it was one free mowing. All right. And then if they liked the service, they could sign up. But there was actually something tangible that you got there. Some dude's going to come over with a lawnmower and mow your grass. And if you like the work that he's done, you can stay on as a customer and we'll sign you up. You're getting something out of it. A lot of people, that was easy to pitch. It was easy to sell because it was something tangible. And not for nothing, sometimes when I made calls, like I actually knew who the other person was because it was one of my friend's dads. That was not a bad telemarketing job. A bunch of teenagers giving away free lawn mowings. Now, and it was mostly high school kids at that job. There were no adults there. These were the jobs that children did. That was a great telemarketing job. The AD&D job was horrible. It was dreadful, and it was a really big company that owned it. And I remember sitting in that seminar or that orientation meeting when they were talking to us, and they were like, guess you guys wonder what you're going to be selling, huh? Like, yeah, I knew it was a telemarketing job, but what? You're selling free trials of accidental death and dismemberment insurance. And at that point, I'm like, shit, well, I already got the job. I need the money because I got to eat, because newsflash, all this talk you hear of white privilege, you can shove it up your ass if you're a white guy. You don't get any help whatsoever, and you got to eat. So I had my telemarketing job. That was actually my second job that I had. My first job, second concurrent job. I was also cooking food for old people. So I'd cook food for old people during the day, and then I'd scam them at night, or vice versa. That was basically the setup. Now, if you did good at hawking the AD&D insurance, you got to sell the cancer insurance, and people were getting excited. And the lady that was pitching it was getting excited at the prospect of selling trials of cancer insurance. I mean, what do you even do with that? So that was a pretty crappy job. My other job, doing construction, I think every guy ought to work a construction job at least once in his life, so that you can either A, realize, I'm good at this, I can see making a living, or B, that like, I am not cut out for this kind of work. It's friggin' killing me. I was B, all right? Ain't no shame in that. Not everybody's set up for construction. I'm not built for construction, but I did the damn job. And the guys on the job, they were all named Dave. Every single person was Dave except me. Casey. Case. That's not a Dave. And they didn't know my name for probably the first 30 days. Or if they did, they were just fucking with me. And they would call me New Guy. New Guy, get up there on that roof, shovel it off. Roof is covered in snow, metal roof like the roof you see in that barn behind you. And I went and I shoveled the roof. Damn near fell off. Now, they were all laughing their asses off because the roof didn't need to be shoveled. It wasn't going to cave in. It was a job under construction. They were seeing if I was going to follow directions, and they wanted to laugh at somebody. Of course, I busted my ass. Of course, they were all laughing. And that's how you learn to take some insults, because they're not going to go easy on you. And by the end of my I was there maybe 5 months. I quit after one of the guys pulled me aside and told me, hey, you're doing a great job here. And if you keep it up and you keep working as hard as you're working, you might even get yourself up to $7 an hour. I was making like $6.50 an hour. And it was at that point that I went, I got to find something else, man. I was doing insulation for like 3 months straight. It was horrible. But I think it's a rite of passage for guys. All right? It thickens your skin a little bit. It lets you be able to deal with people insulting you. There was one guy that I worked with that couldn't deal with the insults. He was another new guy. And he just didn't get it. He was a lot older than me. I was like probably 19, 20 at this time. This dude was well into his 30s. And he used to have a job manufacturing homes at Centex. And apparently that was his dream job. They laid him off. Up in Pennsylvania, a lot of people's dream, the Scranton dream, is to become an alcoholic, get a really good paying construction job, and then get put on disability insurance so you can drink yourself to death. All right? That was the Scranton dream when I was up there. Anyways, this other guy, I completely got sidetracked. This other guy couldn't roll with the punches. And, they'd mess with him, and he'd get all bent out of shape. Dude, it's like, dude, they're just messing with you. It's like, it's not right. I know I've only been here for 60 days, but they should be treating me better. I'm like, they're playing with you. They're messing with you. And they're seeing you get agitated, and frankly, it's funny. And I'm wondering, how at 19 do I know this? And this guy is well into his 30s, and he has no clue about how things work. Now, he didn't last very long. He sucked at his job, too. You can see why he got fired from the other place. He got fired, and that was a job that I quit. I quit, and I quit that job the right way. They were decent to me. They paid me. They paid me what they said they were going to pay me. My paychecks were always on time. I put in a 2-week notice, and I got a job cooking food for old people for that $7 an hour. That job I was much better suited for. So there's another one I had that was really bad. Selling knives door to door. That was a bad job. So story time. When I grew up, I was on my own since I was like 18 years old. All right. I was in a cult. It was a boarding school / cult. I was there until I was 18. I graduated. My parents moved to Florida. And then I lived in the hood in Binghamton, New York. And I went to community college for 6 months, and then I dropped out to smoke crack. True story. Got a book on it, coming out. Anyhow, I digress. So I lived up in Binghamton for a while. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, anyway. So I'm going to cut all this out. Cut. So anyway, I moved out of Binghamton. Because it was a terrible place to live. And I lived in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Anyway, when I lived in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I was pretty friggin' poor. Like, really poor. I mean, like poor. But things didn't cost as much back then. So anyway, there's this job in the paper, right? And you got to remember, this is in 2000. So your average job in Scranton paid you somewhere between, let's call it $5.35 to maybe $9 max. All right. That was just like what labor costs there. And there was an ad in the paper that offered $14.50 an hour. And that was all that I was sold on it. $14.50 an hour. You go and apply for that job, because I can tell you that was like double what I could expect to make anywhere else. So I go there, right? And I go there, and this is a little bit weird. And this is a warning to all of you younger people not to get sucked into these things, all right? So anyway, if any job requires you to buy something to start working for them, probably don't do it. It's probably a pyramid scheme. They call them MLMs, but let's face it, you get they if you refer people there. If you're at the very, very top, and you get money when you refer people, and then they get money, and then they get money, and you get their downlines. Multi-level marketing is a pyramid scheme. We've just manipulated language to make it not a pyramid scheme. So I went in, and they had the whole thing is just a mind fuck, right? They had this thing where they split us up into groups, and you had to do these teamwork exercises, right? And at one point, the group, he picked a bunch of random people, and he asked them, hey, go to a different room. And then he went and he talked to them. And then he came back to our room and said, all right, I had to let all them go. All of them. You guys are the best of the best. You're the people that we want working here. However, not all of you. So you're going to have to come back. This was like an hour-long thing. Now, mind you, I still don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I've already invested an hour into it. And I was working full-time at the time, cooking food for old people. So I go back the next day. Same type of thing. Whittle down the group, send some people into one room, talk to them, come back to our room, tell us we're the best of the best. Newsflash, if you guys haven't picked up on it already, everybody was the best of the best. He was telling the other room that they were the best of the best. And that's why they've been asked to stay. And that other group, they got to leave. So basically what they're doing is saturating the market with people. Everybody gets the job. You can't not get the job. I don't know anybody that was turned down for that job. Why? Because it starts off with you paying them $125. That's why. Of course everybody gets it. You got $125. Dude, you've got the job. And the job was selling knives door to door. And it wasn't door to door, though. It was by referral only. So you had to go and give somebody a presentation on these knives that were only $760 a month. Shit. Back then, I didn't even know anybody that had $760. And I think I might have just screwed up and said $760 a month. No, $760 a set. All right. But back in 2000, most of the people I knew did not have $700. They might have had $70. They certainly could not waste that money on knives they didn't need. And I went and I did it. I did it for like 3 weeks. And everybody that I sold the knives to, I felt bad for because they put it on a credit card and I knew they couldn't afford it. And, at one point, I had this nagging thing called a conscience, which was like, this is messed up. I went in, I canceled all of my orders. And I said to the dude, I was like, look, man, I can't do this. I can't do this. These people are buying the knives because they know me and they want to be nice. And he looked at me, he's like, of course that's what they're doing. They can't afford the knives. He's like, well, that's not your problem. Yeah, I know it's not my problem, but I'm not a salesman. I guess that's what makes me not a salesman, because I had a problem with predatory crap like that. And I told him, look, I just can't do this job anymore. And he's like, yo, some people just don't want to make bank, bro. And maybe he was right, but it didn't feel like it at the time to me, and I quit that job. So, which jobs have you guys had that you've hated? I'd love to see it in the comments section. I'd love to hear some horrible job experiences because, work is one of those things that's inevitable unless you're like really wealthy. And those people pretend to work. But like everybody's going to have some really bad jobs. And I would love to hear how horrible the jobs that you've had have been. And that's all we've got for this evening. That's it. My friends, I will see you later. Go hawk some shit to people that can't afford it and scam old people at night. Peace.